Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the 4-3 show. I'm your host, Ryan Blank. Tonight we are without Pat Fortuna, but I've still got the dynamic duo of Parker Dunn and Dominic Stern. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Good. How are you? My team's 3-0. Yours isn't. So.
Oh, so you're really gonna do this early? You're gonna do it this early?
I'm just. Someone has to assume part of the rule. Part of the rule.
You went straight for the jugular already. Well, Parker, how about you?
Doing pretty good, also 3-0, so I like it.
Yeah. All right. You guys just segued into it. Let's go ahead and start with our team performances of the week. Dom, let's go over to you because the Rams, in my opinion, had the most impressive win of the week.
Yeah, the Rams, I think, definitely had the most impressive win of the week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were widely regarded, and for the right reasons, as the best team in the NFL. Reigning Super Bowl champs, returned all 22 starters, were 2-0 to start the year against the Cowboys, and then they beat a divisional opponent by a lot of points. So, to no one's fault, they were considered the best team in the National Football League. But you know what? The Rams, they just crushed them. It was dominant. They were never trailing in the game, scored in the first time in the second half, in the second quarter. So they kind of felt out the Buccaneers to start the game. Cooper Kupp was a monster, had 2 touchdowns once again. Matt Stafford was incredible. He's probably the leading candidate for NFL MVP, obviously. We're only in week 3 out of 18 weeks in this NFL regular season, but the Rams, they look good. The defense, when Tom Brady was under pressure, I believe he was like 4 for 16. Like it was dominant because Brady had a pretty solid day, but when any of the Rams had him under pressure, it was dominant. So 3-0 for the Rams. They're not alone in first place, unfortunately. And Parker also shares that sentiment of being 3-0, but not being alone in first place in the division, which there are a lot worse things to be. But very pleased with the Rams' performance so far. And the people who said, well, Matt Stafford, he's not a great quarterback. You know, he's not that big of a step up from Jared Goff. The Rams are 3-0 and the Lions are 0-3. So Matt Stafford, he looks like the man. And Sean McVay looks very happy.
Over to you.
Yeah, it was another good week. It's starting to get to the point where it's as much as I love playing bad teams, it's a great way to start the year, get guys' confidence up, try and learn the offense if you're Teddy Bridgewater, who's a new guy over there, first year in Denver. It's good to be able to have that opportunity to showcase your talents against some lesser opponents. But it's getting to the point now where all people want to say is how we're frauds and like the 3-0 start means nothing and we're overrated. And I love when people toss around the term overrated because everybody's saying it. So therefore it's subjective and we're not overrated. We're actually underrated because of that. But I'm not going to go on too much of a tangent. All I got to say is everyone seems to be very upset with our schedule as if we have any control over that. It's going to get difficult. It's going to start off by facing Baltimore next week. Based on how we've looked so far, I think we're ready for it. I think that Baltimore's looked pretty rough so far. I mean, this isn't supposed to be previewed. It's supposed to be looking back at the recap of what I saw week 3, but it was the Jets. We did what we were supposed to do. There's nothing special about it. We went in there. We shut them out at home. The crowd was rowdy. We looked good. The defense continued to look good. But the narrative's just going to continue to be defenses. I can't really truly enjoy any of these wins in their purest form until we have a week. Don't have a guy getting injured. Back weeks where we've had guys suffer season-ending injuries. This time it was KJ Hamler with a torn ACL. And it's just kind of disastrous when you have 7 starters who are injured in some capacity, whether it be IR for the rest of the year or the short-term IR, which is still not very good. So I want to be more positive. I want to be excited about what I'm seeing, which I am. But, when you have all these injuries, it's hard to get too thrilled by it.
Well, here's your guys' chance to just take off your headphones and not listen to a word I'm about to say.
Well, as a member of this radio show, I think it's important for me to listen to what you have to say so that I can respond in true radio fashion.
Okay. I will tell you how this should be. The Chiefs should be 3-0 right now. Instead, they are 1-2 and under 500 for the first time since 2015. Would you like any response there, Dom, before I continue?
I don't think the Chiefs have played clean enough football to be 3-0, so I think that's incorrect.
What I'm saying. The Chiefs should be 3-0, but they have not played clean football. I should have added that.
I just think that's a fundamentally flawed statement.
Yeah.
Because listen, I don't think anyone's going to deny the fact that every time the Chiefs take the field, they're the more talented team. But at some point, the Chiefs are going to have to show their full potential, and when they do that, they're going to they're going to burn the building off, which is what they've done for the past 3 years while Patrick Mahomes has been quarterback. So, I mean, I agree in a way, but at the same time, they haven't played a clean game or anywhere near close to a clean game on both sides of the football. So, and I don't know how you can really say they should be 3-0.
Okay, so yesterday,
Explain.
yes, first off, I want to recap yesterday. Return back to Arrowhead Stadium and lose to the Chargers for the second straight time, even though last year's Week 17 game was meaningless because the starters did not play. But the Chiefs' defense actually looked a lot better. I know you can say they gave up 30 points. Here's the thing. The offense screwed them over. First 2 drives, the Chiefs forced 2 punts from the Chargers. Great start. Then the first 3 drives for the Chiefs offensively, they are driving the ball into LA territory. Oh, an interception off the hands of Marcus Kemp, a fumble from Tyreek Hill, and then another fumble. This time it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the second straight week. And that's how they get a 14-0 lead, by taking advantage of the mistakes from the Chiefs offense. The defense got screwed by the offense because they had to continuously be out there when the offense should have been able to get at least one of those drives into the end zone. 2 of those fumbles came, well, not fumbles, 2 of the turnovers, I should say, came inside the red zone. Then I also got to look at the poor red zone defense as well. The Chiefs started out this season allowing 11 touchdowns in 11 red zone situations. And then the one time they get a stop is when the Chargers tie the game up at 24 with a field goal. I don't know what is going on, but this red zone defense might be the worst red zone defense I have ever watched. There is no excuse why the Chargers were able to decimate the Chiefs' defense inside the red zone. 20-yard touchdown pass to Mike Williams. What was Mike Hughes doing? He left his assignment, and I think any one of us here could have made that throw. It's an easy throw because Mike Williams was not within 5 feet of a defender. But the Chiefs defense, I'm going to give them credit. They looked a lot better. They did better stopping the run. They held Eckler to under 60 yards rushing, so that was a lot better. But what stands out is that red zone defense and how they continue to struggle to, first off, hold teams out of the end zone and even get a turnover in the red zone. So that's where that stands out to me. Also, the offense. The fact that they had 4 turnovers and were still able to put up 24 points shows a lot. And they almost won that game. But I'm going to say it this way. Patrick Mahomes is costing the Chiefs a lot because he is trying to do too much and he is pressing. You know, I watched the tape on the no-look throw that led to the interception off Kemp's hands. I understand that throw from a direction of they had a linebacker going out in coverage. He was trying to use his eyes to misdirect the linebacker. Fine, I get that. But what I have to look at is that interception that led to the Chargers going down the field with 1:40 left to take the lead with, I think, 32 seconds remaining. Mahomes is trying to do too much. And it's because every time he makes a good throw or makes a great play, the NFL is all over it. So is Twitter. So he has that mentality of, oh, I can get away with making these plays. No. Do what you're supposed to do. Take care of the football and focus on getting your team down the field. He did not need to make that throw. He did have Kelsey, but he overthrew the ball, and it led to a second interception. So the Chiefs' offense has to learn to take care of the ball. The offensive line looked atrocious. Orlando Brown looked horrible. Lucas Niang did not look that great either. The inside looked fine with Tooney, Humphrey, and Smith. They looked fine. It's the tackles that looked horrible. So they got to adjust that as well. But the main thing that I got to take away is the offense in their past 2 games has 6 turnovers. The Chiefs did not commit their 6th turnover until week 9 of last season.
That's pretty amazing.
And now they can't take care of the football. I know. Last week was Clyde Edwards-Helaire's first NFL fumble, and he had one yesterday. Tyreek Hill had not had a fumble, I believe, in over a year as well. So those plays, those are rare. Well, less rare for Clyde because now 2 straight weeks with a fumble. But what it comes down to is they have to take care of the football. They have to. Otherwise, it is going to be a long season where you're not going to be able to score. And then the inability to stop a team on fourth down continues to haunt them. Yes, there was a fourth down conversion for the Chargers that was called back due to an illegal shift. But what about that fourth down and 9? That basically gave them the window to go and score the go-ahead touchdown. Also, I think that's a soft PI call. That's my opinion personally.
The one on fourth down was a flag. He was all over.
Then I'm going to say it this way. I don't get it, but Mike Williams consistently has multiple touchdown scores against the Chiefs. I don't get it. It's like if fantasy owners get Mike Williams, trade for him ahead of a game against the Chiefs, he will get you at least 20 fantasy points, just to let you know. But overall, the offensive game plan and approach is there's nothing wrong with it because they were able to get the ball downfield and get the ball in the end zone. Eventually, it's the execution. They got to take care of the football. And defensively, they have to improve that red zone defense and fourth down situations. They have allowed 5 conversions on 6 fourth down plays this year. 2 of them really led to clinching play. The Ravens, it was a game-clinching run, and then game-clinching play to lead to a touchdown for the win. So that got frustrating very easily. You guys know how pissed off I was. And then I nearly had a heart attack when I saw Andy Reid was transported to the hospital. They said it was all out of precaution due to dehydration. He's now out of the hospital. He'll rejoin the team tomorrow in the facility, which is great. I was extremely worried because Andy Reid means so much to Kansas City, taking a team in 2012 that was the worst in football and turning them into champions in 7 years. So what he's done has been incredible, and I'm just glad that he's okay. But today, I saw some great news.
Josh Gordon.
You know what? I'm going to say it this way. He may only be on the team for 3 games, but damn, that offense will look good. Again, he'll probably get suspended after 3 games because he's an addict. But I'm hoping he doesn't because I would love to see him on the field for the rest of the season with the Chiefs. But overall, the Chiefs should not be 1-2 right now. If it's stupid mistakes that have put them there. All right.
Can I respond to that?
Go ahead.
I mean, I think your points about the Chiefs defense being a lot better against the Chargers are very true. And the offensive turnovers are things that are very fixable. So I think that when you look at it, there's reasons to be optimistic still as a Chiefs fan because the defense was a lot better against what I think is a better offense this week, comparing the Chargers to the Ravens.
I'll say this, and I think you'll agree with me. It's a more dynamic offense.
Yes. I mean, no one's going to deny that. And so when you look at that, there's reasons to be optimistic about the defense not being as bad as it was the first 2 weeks. Now, they're really bad against the run. They were better this past week, but the Chargers' running attack is not the strength of the offense.
Also, they did a lot better job. Sorry to cut you off, but they moved Chris Jones inside a lot more on run plays, which is what they need to do because you're taking his aggressiveness away when you're keeping him on the outside against the run. Plus, Anthony Hitchens and Nick Bolton played pretty solid, so they need to continue that, but it's the red zone defense is where they need to work because 11 out of 12 isn't going to cut it. They need to be able to keep teams out of the end zone way more. Yeah,
so I think the Chiefs are going to be fine. I just think their margin for error have obviously shrunken a ton.
Yes,
because I saw the FBI or the FBI. I'm not really. It's probably FBI. They had the Chiefs at a 71% chance to win the division entering the year. It's now down to 17. I think that might be a little bit of an over-exaggeration, but with the Broncos at 3-0 and the Chargers at 2-1 already winning in Arrowhead, I think that's not like that far off. But the Chiefs, they're obviously very capable of going and winning 6 straight games right now and being 7-2, and then everyone who's doubting the Chiefs right now is going to look stupid. But
back in 2015, they started 1-5 on the season, won their last 10 games, and went 11-5 and made the playoffs.
Was that the year that Alex Smith went into Lucas Oil and then they lost?
No, that was 2014.
Okay.
13 or 14. No, that was not the year that happened. But overall, there's just so much that is fixable with the Chiefs, but it's got to come down to the point that they have to do it now. I'm not worried about the penalties as much. Not the penalties, I mean the turnovers as much because those are things I don't think you're going to see many 4 turnover games from the Chiefs. The thing that I'm worried about is the red zone defense because they haven't been able to fix that throughout the first 3 weeks. That's where the main worry is. Do you have any response to that, Dom?
I mean, I think that defense is obviously the primary concern. The offense has been fairly good. We know it can be better. So I think the defense is where the concerns are going to lie.
Also, one last thing about the Chiefs. This week, Willie Gay is eligible to be brought back off the IR. I am really hoping that happens because I'd love to see he and Bolton alongside each other because if they perform well together, Anthony Hitchens could get cut after this year. And I'm hoping that Frank Clark also gets cut because he has been, as my mother will say, a $105 million mistake and has been terrible. With that, we are going to go to a short break. When we come back, we will talk about injuries from this past week and surprise performances.
Next season.
And you're listening to Blaze Radio.
What's the point?
Animals.
Is it safe?
No, but don't worry. You can tune in from wherever you like at blazeradioonline.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Replay values back. Our music show is Camden and Hyde. We review albums every Tuesday night.
Ryan.
Replay values back. Replay values back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 4-3 show. We have gone over our team performances. Now, let's go into some injuries this past week. The most notable that really stick out, the first one was Thursday night with Christian McCaffrey injuring his hamstring. And then you also have players like A.J. Brown, K.J. Hamler of the Broncos, along with Blake Martinez, Teron Armstead. A bunch of big names got hurt. Guys, what injuries worry you the most going through the rest of this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that McCaffrey stands out mostly because that was the first one. It doesn't seem like it's going to be too serious. He's going to miss a couple of weeks, but we know how dynamic he makes that offense. And Carolina's offense didn't have a very impressive showing after he left. He's a running back, so he's fairly replaceable. But at the same time, we know what McCaffrey brings to the table. A lot of speed, a lot of versatility out of the backfield, catching screens. He can also run routes. That's something that not a lot of people realize he's super good at. So I think that is definitely impactful. But I also think that the other impactful injury for the Carolina Panthers is J.C. Horn, the rookie cornerback that they used in the first round. They used their first-round draft pick on. He had been super impressive so far to start the year. Carolina's defense had really limited everyone they'd played, which includes the Saints, who have had 2 really good offensive showings, and then their bad offensive performance against the Panthers. There, of course, were some coaching changes during that game because of COVID-19 issues. But the Panthers' defense, part of the reason is so good is J.C. Horn. He goes down. That injury is going to be more serious. He got surgery today, I believe. So I think that's one that stands out to me, and you guys can come back for another one.
Parker.
I mean, I just mentioned it with Denver. There's a lot of guys throughout the league, but it's hard to find a team that has more injuries to significant players than them because, well, there's tons of guys that you can pick. You can pick one from one team, this team, that team. There's 7 starters. I know I said that like 15 minutes ago, but that's unheard of to have that many guys injured who are starting for you, quality players, by week 3. Like, this is something where, like, if it's like week like 12 or 13, you're like, dang, 7 starters, that's tough. It's going to be tough beating some of these teams with those guys out. Yeah, it's only week 3, and 2 of them are season-ending. One of them is Bradley Chubb's injury, which he got that surgery on his ankle. That's going to put him out 6 to 8 weeks. Judy's injury, week 1, looked a lot worse. It looked like his could have been season-ending. Sure enough, his was only 4 to 6 weeks. It's a high ankle sprain. If it's anything like Michael Thomas's, you got to be really careful with that. Those things just don't go away. They're such a nagging little injury. You can just keep re-aggravating if you're not careful. Josie Jewell tore his bicep. that's going to put him out for the year. That was on special teams, which is just the stupidest way to lose your middle linebacker because he's coming off a career year. Looked like he was going to play a big role, especially when you're getting ready to face the Ravens and you need a guy that can contain Lamar Jackson, which is such a hassle. Then you go down the line, you got Ronald Darby. He was your best cornerback week 1. He got injured on garbage time last drive by the Giants. That sucks. Graham Glasgow had the heart issue, which was really scary in the regular heartbeat. For those that didn't know, they didn't really know what the issue was. They found out after week 2 in Jacksonville. They rushed him to the hospital. Sure enough, he was fine. He was cleared. And then he got injured in a completely unrelated incident, which makes him questionable going into this week against that good Ravens front, which is going to bring some pressure to Teddy, which is a little bit concerning. And then you look at the guy across from him, and Dalton Reisner, who's also injured with a foot injury, also questionable, making picking that game that much more difficult now, and just making me a little bit scared for Teddy out there, I gotta say. And then I already mentioned Hamler; he's out, torn ACL, but just a lot of injuries, and it almost makes you question like what kind of stuff's going on, like with the medical trainers and that staff. You know, I'm not in the organization. I don't know how good they are at their job or what they do or what they could be doing better. But it's just when you see this many injuries so quickly, it just makes you question some things and think, how is it possible for one team to have experienced this many injuries so early on? We know the Niners were a team that were super injury-bitten. Broncos were last year too. So when you see a common pattern starting to look like the Chargers a little bit here, where you're consecutively having seasons where your entire team's just going to be on IR by week 4 or 5, it's a bit concerning because I really do believe in this team. This team's getting me excited. I get it. They haven't played legit opponents, and that's what makes week 4 so exciting to me because it's a Ravens team that's going to bring it. But sure enough, when you got these injuries, it's difficult to really get a read on this team and see what they're capable of because they're going to go up against some really good teams going forward. Those little weak games are gone. There's not going to be any of those because the rest are divisional games against what looks like 3 really good teams because we know how good the Chiefs are. Their start's a little bit fluky. They're going to be good. Chargers look pretty good so far. Herbert's looking good in his second year. The Raiders of all teams are 3-0. They look really good.
Raiders.
It's an interesting division. It's going to be a really hard one. Those are 6 difficult games. You look at some of the AFC North opponents they're going to have to play. None of those games are going to come easy. So these injuries are concerning, I got to say.
For me, I got to look at Quentin Nelson, who was carted off yesterday. And my belief is that, Dom, you mentioned it yesterday when we were watching games, that the Colts rushed him back from that ankle injury. And I completely agree. And you got to hope that this is not an injury that's going to last a while. That's not going to keep him out a while because he is, in my opinion, the best offensive lineman in the game. And he consistently is the anchor for that offensive line. And without him, who knows how they're going to perform. Other notable injuries for me, I also want to look at A.J. Brown. I know that it's his hamstring, which is an injury that is you have to be very cautious with. But they do have Julio Jones, which helps, but that offense takes a big hit losing. In my opinion, I think he's their top receiver. So that's where I think they could take a hit there if he's out multiple weeks. But the last one I do want to mention is I think the loss of James White to the Patriots.
Oh, dude, you're really just taking my injuries.
That's one that stands out to me because first off,
Yes, let's go. Let's go. I just won $50, baby. Yes. I won the week with my spread pickle.
we do not endorse gambling on the 4-3 show.
It's not gambling. I just put money in a pot and I won this week. Let's go.
Gambling.
Shut up. Let's
But
go.
James White's a big injury because he's their kind of change the pace guy out of the backfield with his receiving skills. And without him, you're going to have to rely on one of their younger backs to do so. But that's a big loss because everyone knows how talented he is out of the backfield. And he's one of the best weapons on that Patriots offense.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator there in New England, he's been there for a long time, and so is James White. I believe he's got to be the longest tenured guy on that offense. And the way that they've always used James White has been that primary guy on third down. And it's always been something that it's been a safety blanket for McDaniels' offenses. And Pat, I'm sure he would tell us, this is somewhere where we definitely miss Pat, is his Patriots analysis. Josh McDaniels is going to have to find a way to adapt to using an offense without James White. It's the first time in a really long time the Patriots offense, it hasn't been what it once was with Tom Brady, obviously. And James White not being there is like the one remaining piece for McDaniels that is now gone. So how is he going to be able to adjust and adapt and utilize this backfield without James White? I think it's a very complex situation that I think is flying under the radar because James White, and listen, he's like a backup running back. So I don't know what the situation is going to be there in New England for that, but there you have it. I think James White is a much bigger injury than a lot of people are making out to be.
I completely agree with that, Don. Next up, do we have any other injuries that we want to talk about? Parker, anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Parker, I'm going to swing it back to you. Any surprise performances that stuck out to you this week?
I mean, this week I'm trying to think of some of the games that I was watching. Here, send me over to Dom real quick. I'm gonna do a little bit of research.
Dominic!
Yeah, some stuff.
Now it's back over to you.
Surprise performance?
Yeah, any performance that stuck out to you this week?
How about the Bills offense? Going up against the football team defense, coming off of a mini bye, playing on Thursday Night Football in week 2. I think the Bills offense was super impressive, especially how they looked the first 2 weeks of the season. They got absolutely stomped by the Steelers offensively. And then in week 2, they basically just had a short field every time because the Miami Dolphins offense couldn't do anything. But week 3, going up against what I believe to be the best defense in the NFL, which is clearly going to be wrong, and I think Parker's defense for the Denver Broncos has a very strong case to be that number 1 defense. So does the Rams defense. The Bills just stomped them. I mean, it was ugly. I said on one of my other podcasts that I do that would be the lowest scoring game of the week, and the Bills made me look like idiots. So the Bills, I was super impressed with their offense. I mean, when the awards come out tomorrow, I wouldn't be shocked to see that Josh Allen is NFL player or offensive player of the week.
Yeah.
It was a super impressive performance from the Buffalo Bills. I'd say they were my surprise performance, but it really shouldn't be that surprising because we saw this from them a lot last year, putting up 43 points.
Yeah.
They got some help from the defense, though, but very impressive performance from the Bills.
Okay, it has come to me from looking up some stuff, and it just reminded me, and that's the Ravens, because I just mentioned that Denver's going to play them, and feeling a little bit better about that game than I did at the beginning of the year because the Ravens haven't looked good. I mean, their loss to the Raiders looks a lot better now because the Raiders have backed it up. They've gone on to win their other 2 games. So that loss doesn't look quite as bad. So I can't be too harsh on them. But the fact that they barely scraped away and beat Detroit, who I feel like it's weird. Detroit, they crack me up.
They play well at home, man.
They do. That's the thing. That's what I wanted to say. It's like I feel like this year and also last year, maybe, I don't know, maybe my mind's a little foggy. I feel like at the beginning of the year, like they'll play some close games. Like they won't play terrible. They, of course, just find a way to lose them because that's just what they do. But like they do keep them close, and maybe that's part of it. But the Ravens just barely scrape by. I mean, they need an NFL record-long field goal kick at 66 yards from Tucker to scrape by. I mean, hitting the crossbar there, bouncing in, breaking the hearts of all the Detroit fans out there. That was hilarious, by the way. That was iconic to watch. But it's so crazy to me that the Ravens have looked the way that they have. And I get it. They've dealt with so many injuries. Like right before the year, they got hit with those injuries, and I can feel for them. That sucks. That is terrible. You hate to see it because Marcus Peters went out. It's like, oh, gosh, it's one of your really good corners. Your entire running back room just vanished. Like Thanos snapped his finger, and they're just gone, which was a really weird week for them. So I understand a little bit of adversity coming into the year. So the fact that they're 2-1 is fine. The Browns are also 2-1, so they're tied at the top of the division. So definitely nothing to hit panic mode on. It's not like fraud watch or anything, but they just have surprised me in the sense that they're not able to pull away, and they just didn't look particularly good. I feel like it's going to be a much different Ravens team in Denver. It should be a really good game, and I think that that's a really good game for them and us to see how they look on a big stage in a hostile environment because they weren't able to look very good in Detroit. See how they do in Denver.
Performance that stands out to me, easy. Myles Garrett, 4.5 sacks.
He had 4.5 sacks?
Yeah.
Franchise record for the Browns. in a single
Oh,
game.
I didn't even realize that. I mean, he was going up against Jason Peters, and I saw some of the clips on YouTube of that. That was horrific.
Oh, he was dominant yesterday.
Defensive player of the year picks.
Are
and
the
really good
Bears-
after that.
Are the Bears the worst offense in the NFL?
They're really
Okay.
bad. They're up there.
They're my other surprise performance because
Tucker's field
Did
goal
you-
was longer than their offensive
Yeah,
passing
because-
yards.
No, it's
Because-
not their offense. Period.
Total,
yeah,
yeah, total.
because
So both, but yeah, total.
Fields threw for 1 yard because he was sacked for 47.
That's unheard of.
He was sacked 9 times. Did you guys see what Darren Orlovsky said today on ESPN? That this was an act of negligence or they did this on purpose? Matt Nagy did it to prove his point that Dalton is better than Fields?
What point is there
No.
to prove? 'Cause,
No.
listen, I
That's awful.
I think that Nagy can believe that, but if he's going out there and purposefully like putting together a horrible game plan just to prove that, I think that reflects
Psychotic.
poorly on him. And it's not. I think it's that reflects poorly on
Yes.
him because now all of a sudden you look like an idiot too, and all of a sudden it's just a lot of people don't think Matt Nagy's a good offensive mind as it is. And if you're going to go out there and try and do things like that and actively not try to win in the National Football League, where your one job is to win,
Yes.
especially after you draft a quarterback, you trade up to draft a quarterback the year after you make the playoffs. It reflects very poorly on you. And if that's what his goal was, which I really doubt it was, I think that's probably just Dan
That doesn't
Orlovsky
sound
saying
right.
something, then that would be truly a shame.
Yeah, I mean, the only way Nagy isn't at risk of losing his job is if the savior is Justin Fields and they find a way to win some football games that you wouldn't expect them to because of how good he looks. Surely that's not the case. That offensive line didn't protect him. He's running for his life, and the game is not as slow as he thought it was in preseason.
Nagy
So-
should have been fired after last year.
It's just
Should have been, but his job got saved because they were playing the AFC South and they absolutely blew out the Texans. They blew out the Jaguars late in the year. They ended up barely making it in the playoffs because there was really only 5 good teams in the
Yeah.
NFC last year.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden he gets his job again. They give him a new quarterback and it looks horrible. Their offense looks bad.
yeah.
Yeah, their
That's
offense is atrocious.
That's just Orlovsky's trying to get viewers. That's all that is. There is just no way that a head coach in the NFL is looking to sabotage his young rookie quarterback. I refuse to believe that. I mean, that's psychotic. There's just no way. His job is the one that's at stake. He wants to win these games. He wants Fields to look good. He wants the offense to look good. So, like, there's just absolutely no validity to that statement.
I think that it was a horrible game plan. I think also the lack of adjustments made during that game on the offensive line to maybe add another blocker, not done. I think they had 2 plays where they had an extra blocker, and then Fields got sacked. The line, it's a terrible offensive line, but there's no excuse for him being sacked 9 times in the game. So that's where it's a surprising performance for me because of how good Myles Garrett played, but also how poor the Bears played in that game. All right, guys, before we go to one last break, I want to ask, what matchups do you guys are looking forward to watching this week?
Well, I think that the matchup between the 3-0 Cardinals and the 3-0 Rams, I know I'm taking the layup here with the matchup of my favorite team. But you're looking at, it's a 3-0 matchup, interdivision of 2 teams that are very exciting. I think that is definitely the matchup that I'm most excited for. Cliff Kingsbury, 0-4 in his career. Kyler Murray, 0-4 in his career against the Rams. So how are they going to be able to try and get over that hump? And I also think the Lions-Bears matchup is going to be cool too because these 2 teams have been a dumpster fire so far to start the season. Cowboys-Panthers, you're looking at a matchup of 2 teams that I think have impressed a lot of people. The Panthers coming off their mini-bye, the Cowboys coming off a shorter week because they just wrapped up Monday Night Football, beat the Eagles 41-21. So I think those are definitely some of the matchups I'm looking forward to.
Parker, over to you.
For me, yeah, there's a couple. The Seahawks Niners jumps out to me. The Seahawks are they're 1-2. Like they haven't looked anything special. Just kind of like I was hoping they would look. Not like I have anything against the Seahawks. I really don't. But that's a good matchup. It's a good divisional matchup between 2 teams because that's such a good division from top to bottom. These 2 teams don't like each other. The fan bases hate each other. There's still some animosity there. It's not like it used to be back in 2013, 14. But it still lingers. So I think that's a good one for that reason. That could be a really good game. Then, I mean, I look at the Broncos game, like I mentioned. That's going to be pretty good. It's between a 3-0 and a 2-1. I think that's a good matchup in Denver. Then even that Raiders-Chargers game because Raiders are 3-0, Chargers are 2-1. Chargers have the better win, in my opinion. I mean, to be able to beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead's impressive. So I think that's a good game. to see how those two teams look because I'm really curious how that one's going to go. That's pretty much a toss-up based on how I'm looking at it. So, I mean, that's just 3 games rattled off right there. Don mentioned a couple too. Like, there's some really good games. It's going to be a difficult week.
You guys gave me slim pickings here.
Yeah, we pretty much.
You guys gave me nothing.
You
Dom-
stole my injuries, so
Tom takes my Panthers, Cowboys. You take Raiders, Chargers.
I had to take multiple too because
I know.
I've already talked about the Broncos so much
Yeah.
on this episode alone. I didn't want to focus on
No.
just that, so I wanted to at least sprinkle the love around the league a little bit.
You know, I'm going to go with 2 matchups you guys did not say. The first one is going to be Buccaneers-Patriots for obvious reasons because you have Tom Brady returning to Foxborough for the first time since signing with the Buccaneers. So I think that's just something that is going to be weird to see him take the field at Foxborough and not be in a Patriots uniform, but also see how the fans react. I think that's going to be I don't know if it's going to be as great of a game. I just think the situation around it, I think it's going to make it a cool game to watch. And then also Browns-Vikings. The Vikings took care of business, bounced back after starting 0-2 with a win over the Seahawks this past week. And the Browns look great. The defense looked fantastic. So I think that's definitely a game that I think I'm going to really be excited to watch because you saw the Vikings nearly be 2-1 to start the season if Greg Joseph hits that game winner.
and they're in overtime in the other loss too.
Yeah. So the Vikings have played close games, and then they really took care of business over the Seahawks. So I'm excited to watch that game. I think that game's going to be really good. So that was the only 2 I have because you guys really left me with nothing there. You guys took the best games, which I expected. But with that, we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we'll be back with our pick'ems.
Oh, yeah, this is the Macho Man, Randy Savage. You're listening to Blaze Radio, live from the Bill Austin studio. Tune in on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Oh, yeah.
What are they serving at the mess hall? The hottest topics, tasty trends, spicy debates, savory sports and weather. Oh, and a whole lot of salt. All of that and more on the mess hall with Evan Masters, Evan Liss, and Connor Van Lichten. Fridays 2 to 3 p.m. only on Blaze Radio, BlazeRadioOnline.com.
Blaze's Golden Sombrero Show is your one-stop spot for all the latest news in baseball. The 3 hosts, Dominic Stern, Cole Bradley, and Brian Blake were all pitchers in high school, so you know we love a good strikeout. We talk about all those, so you already know that this is Adam Dunn and Joey Gallo's least favorite baseball show. Tune in from 10 to 11 every Monday for all the latest news and debates in baseball.
Welcome back to the 4-3 show. We are back for our pick'ems. Dom, go ahead. Give us the update on the standings.
Yeah, this week, Parker, you also had the best week once again. You didn't have as good of a week. You went
Tough stretch of
You
those
went
4 games.
you went 12-4. I'm yet to add the Dallas game, so I'm just gonna do this on the fly. Parker, you are 25-7. You're in first place by 4 games. Or 3 games so far, 3 games. Ryan, you're still in second. You did drop a game back to me though. You are now 22-10, which is a very good record. I gained a game on Ryan, so I'm 21-11. And then Pat is in last, which we're not surprised because he loves to pick Jacksonville. He's yet to text me his picks, which is fine. We'll have a game where we're gonna guess his picks. These aren't his picks. We're
Yeah,
gonna
I
guess.
like
his
that.
Oh, I like this. I think we'll definitely guess
I think
his
we're gonna
picks.
go 16-0.
Yeah, so we're gonna guess his picks. I'm gonna write down PG, which stands for Pat Guess, and not Patrick Gary. That's only a reference you get if you're our friend. PCG, shout out to you. Hope your shoulder injury is healing well.
We cannot lose him to
We
the
need
IR.
We need you
He
for
can't be on the
softball
IL.
season.
Desperately.
Our
We cannot
defense
lose him to
already
the IL.
sucks. I already have no trust in anyone when the ball gets put in play.
Hey,
Don't blame
It's
me.
facts. It's
I don't
facts.
blame you at all.
And then we'll get Pat's picks later in the week. But
yes, sir.
I'll say this now. We discussed before the show whether or not we wanted to continue doing picks live on air. We came to a decision that we like doing the picks live on air because it's fun.
Yes.
But Parker, he made a very valid point that I also agreed with, that picking games on Mondays
Is
very
really tough.
very far from
There's
ideal.
too much uncertainty.
So we've given the full clause that if you want to trade picks, you just gotta let primarily me know, but because I'm the one that keeps track of picks, but also just let everyone know that you changed the pick. So Brian, I'll now turn it back over to you and let's make our week 3 picks. Or should I go over the picks that we differed on last week?
Actually, real brief. Let's go.
Okay, so Pat was the only person to get the Chargers game right and the Bengals game right. So all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, Pat's catching up. No. Pat picked Jacksonville, which they looked horrible. I mean, they were winning at halftime
Hey.
because of the Jamal Agnew 109-yard return, which
Auburn's going to win the football game.
yeah, no. But Jamal Agnew, University of San Diego, former returner there. Pat got that game right. Buffalo, Washington, Parker and I, we picked Buffalo, so that was where I gained a game on Ryan.
Did I really pick Washington that game?
You did, yes.
I swear I thought I picked Buffalo because they were at
Go
home.
back and watch the video.
I think he's cool and all, but
You know what? I am going to go back and watch the video.
Yeah, like I
myself.
said, you can call. I save these in the document until the next week of football starts. They're here. They're on the record. I'm not trying to cheat you out of games, so there's that.
I'm going to take a look.
Pat was the only person that got the Atlanta Falcons game right. So like Pat going out there and just randomly guessing some of these games,
It pays off sometimes.
It does,
Yeah.
and he also had Detroit,
Which
so,
almost paid off.
yeah, literally a record-breaking kick cost him a game there.
Yeah.
Ryan, you were the only person who guessed Miami, so you got that incorrect.
I'm still frustrated with that. They
They
had
were
a
up
14-0
14-0. I
lead.
know.
How do you choke that?
Their offense sucks.
Hey, you know what? Jacoby Brissett looked good on that final drive.
He
for
did,
OT.
yes. The backdoor cover, which put me in position to win the week in my
Hey.
pick'em pool.
Hey, you know what they say, Dom?
We do not endorse gambling,
You know what they
but
say.
we do endorse winning, and I'm a winner. I've already won back all the money I put in for the pool this year. So
there you go.
You know what? I'm going to say it this way.
now it's
One
now
of-
it's house money.
Dom, one of you always said,
We do not endorse gambling on this.
great teams win,
Good
good teams
suck.
win, great teams cover, okay?
They could have a bad offense, but still be a great team. Boom. Pat was alone on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We were all good on the Rams.
Yep.
And then Ryan and Parker both had Green Bay. So for a long time, they were feeling good about that game. All of a sudden, Pat and I, we were or the team that we picked had a nice comeback, but left just a
Mason
little too much
Crosby.
time for that bad man.
Mason
I
Aaron
was
Rodgers.
at Park Place. I was right next to Jack watching it with him, and I was speaking, more in terms of like, I don't know, trying to give. I don't know if it was like giving him hope as well or not, but I was like, I don't know if he can do it in 37 seconds, no timeouts. But deep down in my soul, I'm like, this is Aaron Rodgers. If
Yeah.
anybody could do it, he can. And the thing is, a lot of people just assume when there's less than a minute, you can't take shots down the middle. But as long as you get enough yardage, clock the ball, you're fine.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they did that twice. And Mason Crosby, he's one of the more clutch kickers. I think that he was like 11 of 17 and
11
like
of
big
18.
time, 11 of 18 and big time game winning kicks. Now 12 of 19. So he's got the genes to follow that one through and make it, and he did. So
Mason Crosby, baby.
Yes.
All right.
Let's move in.
We ready?
4. Yes.
Thursday night football. The toilet bowl
Well, I mean, is
for
it?
one team.
it's
Yeah.
at least entertaining in the fact that it's two young quarterbacks with
Jaguars.
careers, but
These guys faced off in the
Bengals.
national championship back in 2020.
And Joe Burrow got the best
Yeah, I
of Trevor
think,
Lawrence.
I think our first show together as a group was in here discussing who we thought was going to win the national championship.
I
game,
believe.
if I was
Oh, I
correct.
think
so.
it was.
We had
we
we had
that's
our
awesome.
friend Ryan Sandstrom in this
We
studio. as
previewed
well.
the playoff, of course,
gosh.
and that as well.
Those were the good old days.
Anyways, Jaguars Bengals. I'm going to take the Bengals here, and I'm also going to take my guess that Pat is going to go away from picking his Jaguars, and he's going to take the Bengals.
Yeah,
in
this
one.
is the best team for him to do that.
Pat believes in the Bengals more than anyone else, so I think he's going to take the Bengals, and so am I.
Yep, same for me here. They're 2-1. They've looked a lot better than the Jaguars. Makes sense. They're at home.
Titans at Jets.
Pat's definitely taking the Titans here, and so will I.
I agree. Titans in this one.
Yep, it's definitely Titans.
Even without A.J. Brown, they're still going to
the
dominate.
Jets have looked rough to say the least.
The Bears host the Lions.
Bears hosting Lions. I actually am going to take the Lions in this one.
I think Pat would agree with you.
I started to point there because I had a feeling you were gonna think the same here. I'm thinking that too.
Yeah, I mean, they're 0-3. The Bears haven't done anything that's impressed me so far. They only beat the Bengals, and they only beat them because they got 3 straight interceptions on 3 straight plays from the Bengals. Outside of that, they looked horrible that game. So I'm actually going to run here. I'm going to take the Lions. Who are we going to pencil in Pat's pick for?
Lions.
Lions, yeah.
Lions.
Yeah.
All right. Parker, you picked the Lions,
Yeah,
right?
I have a long history with Bears games not going away, especially against the Lions.
Yes, I'm
But
right there with you.
if it was a home game, I'd feel a lot better, but I still feel pretty good for the Lions here.
If it was a home game, I'd take the Lions. And the scary thing is that Nagy came out and saying that either quarterback of Nick Foles, healthy Andy Dalton, and Justin Fields are in competition to start this week. This is a game that I think is one of the tougher ones to pick, but I'm going to take the Bears at home. If the
Okay.
Lions were at home, I'd take the Lions.
All right, you're alone on the Bears.
Next up, Colts at Miami.
Another tough one because these are two teams that have underperformed so far. But I just think the injuries have added up too much on the Colts. I'm going to take the Dolphins here at home. The Dolphins are also very good coming off of losses, especially against the
True.
spread. I found that out. And that's why I'm like, you know what? I'll take the Dolphins plus 3.5 on the road. They look good against the Raiders, who are good so far. I mean, no one's going to deny that. So I think the Dolphins, they get back to 500, but I'd be 0% shocked if the Colts win here. And I'm going to say Pat would pick the Colts because it's an AFC East team.
He hates the Dolphins, so yeah, I'd agree with you that he would take the Colts in this one. Parker, over to you. Who's your pick?
This is tough because it's insane with the Dolphins. It really is, and that really would be one of those things that would be the reason why I side towards it. But I have the Colts penciled in. Their injuries are a concern. Carson Wentz is a tank. This man gets injured. He's made of paper, but he still plays even though he's made of paper, and I respect it. So I think that the Colts are 0-3. They find a way to get their first one of the season.
All right. And like we said, Parker, if you want to change that pick based on
Yeah,
the
of
injury
course.
fall,
Mhm.
let one of us know.
That's one of those games as a check mark next to it.
I'm going to do the same thing as Parker. I'm going to take the Colts in this one. I think the defense will be able to contain Jacoby Brissett and that offense that really did not look that great. And I think that I just think that the Colts are too good of a team to start 0-4. I think that this is where they will get their first win of the season. But if Wentz happens to be out, I will probably change that pick. Next up, we have the Browns in Minnesota to take on the Vikings.
Another really tough game. I mean, you guys highlighted it earlier. The Vikings, they finally look good. They very could well be 3-0. They're not. They're, this is not me making fun of you, Ryan, but they're one of those teams that's 1-2, but they've been right there with some good teams. Very easily could be 3-0. It's tough because they're at home. The crowd there in Minnesota was electric. But I love this Browns team. I picked them to win the AFC coming into the year, and I'd feel kind of like a coward if I went against that. And the way they've looked so far, I don't really have any reason to pick against them, so I'm going to take the Browns here.
Yeah, I mean, that Vikings game for me, when I was looking at against the Seahawks and they got down, I'm like, I don't know, this is kind of a fraud watch game. If they find themselves starting the year 0-3, I can't have any faith in them going forward. But they pulled it out, gutsy win. The defense played really well in the second half. Wilson couldn't do too much. So that was good to see. But the Browns team, I have them winning the AFC North for a reason. This team looks good. If Myles Garrett does half as good as he did, that'd still be 2 sacks, 2.5 right there. So I think that the Browns, they're going to get the job done at this one.
I'm going to give it to the Browns as well. I think the defense is looking really good. That team is going to win the AFC North. I've said it since we did our prediction show because of how talented the team is. So I'm going to take the Browns over the Vikings, but I think it's going to be a close game.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think it could be a really good game.
Who are we giving Pat's pick to?
I think Pat would definitely pick the Vikings in this one. This is a Pat game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I'd
think
lean
so too.
towards that.
Obviously, like I said, we're not picking these games for Pat. We're just making our guesses for him based on
Yep.
his wildly incoherent picks.
Good word choice, Tom.
Thank you.
Next up, Washington looks to bounce back in Atlanta.
I'm going to take Washington here. I think their offense figures it out against Atlanta's really bad defense. Atlanta, they finally won. These are a battle of 1-2 teams. If either of these teams want a shot at making the playoffs, you got to win this game and get the 500. I think that Washington's defense finally shows up this week, and I think they go to 2-2.
Yeah, these are two drastically different 1-2 teams. I mean, well, at the end of the day, like Washington's defense has not performed how I would have expected. They got absolutely obliterated against the Bills, which you have one of the better offenses in the entire league. So, like, if of all the teams, that makes a little bit more sense. But still, that defense, they got shelled. I still think they're going to win this game, though. I don't have any faith in the Falcons. They were able to have a gutsy win. Younghoe Koo had that game winner.
My guy.
Good for him, but this isn't the Giants, so I don't see that happening again.
I expect a big game from the Washington defense to bounce back after a horrible performance in Buffalo. I agree with you, though. I think the offense figures it out, finds themselves with a nice, comfortable win over the Falcons. Next up, probably the easiest game to pick this week. Texans at Bills.
Texans at
Oh,
Bills.
by the way, you didn't say it. I think Pat would pick the.
The Falcons.
He'd pick the Texans.
No, I'm talking about the last game, the Washington game. I think he'd pick Washington. He has those games that he agrees with us. I think this is one where he would agree.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. My vote is overruled. That's fine. It's not important.
Woo!
All right. You said Houston and Buffalo?
Yep.
Yeah, Buffalo.
Yeah, definitely have Buffalo. Texans have definitely looked better than I thought, being that I had them with the bold 0-17 season.
Yeah.
Which would have been the
Wrong
first
week one.
which would have been the first ever in NFL history. One day that'll happen. But yeah, no, the Bills are going to win this one.
I'm taking the Bills in this one, and this is a game where I took them by 3 possessions at least. And Pat takes the Texans in this game.
Guaranteed. Davis.
He
Mills.
would never pick the Bills. Next up, Giants in New Orleans. Home opener for the Saints.
That's crazy. Well, it's not their first home game. It's their first game in New Orleans.
Yes, sorry.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, no, I knew what
you
you
said
meant.
it, but
Yeah,
let's
you
make
did.
sure that our listeners are
Yeah.
aware. Yeah, I'm going to take the Saints here. They've been impressive with when they've had the full coaching staff, and the Giants have been the opposite of impressive. So give me the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, based on my season predictions, it would make sense to balance it out and pick the Giants. But just based on a realistic perspective from a week to week, I cannot do that. The Saints are the better team. They should win this game at home. And what should be a really cool game since they're able to be back at the Dome.
One of the best defensive players for Giants. Blake Martinez is out for the year. He tore his ACL yesterday. So I think
Big
that has
loss,
huge.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge loss. And I think that's definitely going to have an effect. So I'm going with the Saints here. And I think Pat would agree with us.
Yeah, no way is he picking the helmet catch Giants.
Yep. Next up, Chiefs and Eagles.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Yep, Chiefs. They're both 1-2, but it's so drastically different. There's no reason to even talk about it.
Okay, I'm going to say something real quick. If the Chiefs lose to the Eagles, I don't even know what I'll do.
But you get a Super Bowl 55 champions tattoo on you.
No, because I would never do that to myself.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, Pat, shut up.
Hey, come on. It was there for the team.
Yes,
you
it
get
was.
like one of the little
Oh.
kids ones you put it with the water on you. the ones that
Hey, you
just
mean the
fall.
the tattoos that my beautiful girlfriend was wearing to the ASU football game? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's right. That's right, Parker.
You just got told, buddy.
Did I?
You did, yes.
But, okay, the two bright sides to come from the Chiefs' loss. Mahomes became the fastest quarterback to throw for 15,000 career yards, and Kelsey broke the franchise record for the most 100-yard receiving games with his 27th, passing Tony Gonzalez. The Chiefs win this game, and Pat would pick the Eagles just to piss me off.
Yeah, so I'm gonna also agree with you that you pick the Eagles,
Yeah,
but
you
it's
will.
gonna be a very tough decision considering the circumstances of Super Bowl 52.
Yeah,
It is tough.
But I think that his hatred runs deeper now.
His hatred for me runs deeper.
He doesn't hate you; he just likes to provoke you.
yeah.
Next
Rent
up.
free.
Running out of time, we gotta go quick. Panthers at Cowboys.
Panthers at Cowboys. I'm going to take the Cowboys here. I think the Panthers finally lose. It's going to be a great game. These two teams have been very impressive so far, but I'm going to take the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cowboys at home. That offense will be a little bit too much. The Panthers' defense does look really good. I didn't know where they're going to be coming into the year, but they look really good. So good for them, but they will be 3-1 after this week, and the Cowboys will win.
I think the two losses of Christian McCaffrey is going to have an impact on the offense, and then also the loss of J.C. Horn, their top 10 pick from last year, from this past draft, is out for the next 2-3 months with a broken foot. So I think that is going to lead to them suffering their first loss of the season. Next up, Seahawks at Niners.
Another tough game because this is a divisional matchup.
Yes.
I'm going to take the quarterback here. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I think that the Seahawks don't want to fall 1-3 and then all of a sudden definitely 3 games back to the division unless there's a tie. So I'm going to take the Seahawks.
Yep, same thought process here. I think the Niners go to 2-2. I don't like what I've seen from them. I mentioned that before the Packers game. I agree with it. So Seattle.
I'm going with the Niners. Jimmy G looked a lot better in the second half, and I think that's going to carry over. Plus, I think that for the Niners, they're going to focus on getting more pressure on the quarterback, which they were unable to do last night. So I think that's going to have an effect there. I think Pat takes the Niners, and then for our last matchup, Panthers-Cowboys, I think he takes the Panthers.
Yeah, I gave them Panthers as well.
All right, next up. In my opinion, game of the week. Cardinals at Rams.
Well, it's the only matchup of undefeated teams, so that would make sense. I'm going to ride with the Rams again. Done nothing to not let me pick them. So Rams.
Yeah, same here. Run short on time, so I won't say anything beyond that.
Rams, this is the best team in the NFL to this date.
Mhm.
Pat, what do you think? Rams? Yeah, he'd take Rams. He loves Cooper Cup. Next up, Steelers at Packers.
Packers, easy.
Yep, Aaron Rodgers is going to slaughter them.
Packers. The defense for the Steelers is looking weaker without TJ Watt, and Big Ben is not good anymore.
He's so bad.
Pat takes the Packers, I think. Would you agree?
Mhm.
Okay. Next up, another great matchup. Ravens at Broncos.
Parker.
This game's the huge reason for the whole rule thing of changing our picks before. I'm going to stick with Denver, actually. But the injuries to offensive line, those are going to be what maybe changed it on Twitter. So look out for that.
I'll also take Denver. I think they moved to 4 now.
I'm going to take Denver. That defense is for real. That secondary is the best secondary in the NFL.
And I think Pat would also take them
Yeah.
because he doesn't like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Next up, Sunday night, Buccaneers, Patriots.
Bucks.
Yep, Buccaneers here.
Bucks. Pat takes the Pat takes the Pats. Finally, our last game, Raiders at Chargers. Monday night.
I'm going to take the Chargers. I think the Chargers finally knock them off. They've been impressive. I think the Raiders finally fall.
I agree. And based on the predictions, that would mean we'd be in first place. Woo!
I'm going to give the Chargers the win here. I think that they're going to get to the Raiders. I think the defense is going to be able to force turnovers. I think the offense, led by Justin Herbert, is going to get in the end zone. So
I
give me the
agree.
Chargers.
Yep.
Who's Pat taking? Pat's taking the Raiders to piss me off.
Yep. That's a very easy one.
Yep.
It's a gimme.
Ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for the 4-3 show this week. Great slate of football games this weekend. We will be back next week where we will actually start incorporating college football as well as NFL. Have a great rest of your week.